Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. LSU beats Vanderbilt 24-17 in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. Perfect day of weather on campus. Got a little chilly there in the second half, but it was a great day and a great event inside Tiger Stadium, and LSU took care of their business. They just handled themselves the way they needed to handle themselves, and I thought that was a question entering the game. I thought it was reasonable to continue that question when you go 3 and out and then allow a 63-yard touchdown pass on the first play from scrimmage. That's not exactly a great start, and you could have really questioned whether or not LSU had checked out, and in fact, they had not. I thought LSU played a really, really strong football game, essentially from that point to the finish of the game. I thought 2 plays kept this from being great. I thought the 4th down, where LSU decides to go for it inside the 5-yard line, Garrett Nussmeier fires for Trey'Dez Green, and it just misses. And then the fake punt that Vanderbilt ended up converting there late in the game. If you take those 2 snaps and change them, it was really a clinical performance by LSU. You can't do that. You had an empty red zone trip because you didn't hit Trey'Dez Green, and Vanderbilt went down and scored a late touchdown to cut the lead to 7 because you weren't awake on the fake punt. But outside of those 2, it was really, really good for LSU. Vanderbilt's drives after the first touchdown, which was a 63-yard bomb on a double move that Zy Alexander fell for, was punt, it was a 3 and out, 6 plays, 50 yards, punt, turnover on downs on a 40-yard drive, 4 plays and a punt, a field goal drive that went 46 yards but took 12 plays to do it, and then a 3 and out. So that's 6 consecutive drives that just netted 3 points for Vanderbilt before the last drive of the game that ended up getting them a touchdown. Offensively, LSU was really, really good at sustaining drives, at keeping the football, at running it. Nussmeier was efficient, in rhythm, didn't put the ball in harm's way. You had an 8-play, 90-yard touchdown drive. You had a 12-play, 70-yard drive. That's the one that didn't cash there at the end. But you also had an 80-yard touchdown play that took 9 plays. You had a 77-yard drive that took 10 plays and scored a touchdown. Then you had a 74-yard drive that took 13 plays and was a field goal. And then when you got the ball with 5 minutes and 47 seconds to go, you salted the entire game away with a 66-yard drive that took 11 plays. That's about as good as you can be offensively. So I just thought that LSU did a ton of things very, very well in this game after 5 snaps. You had a 3 and out, and then the bomb, and then you got into it. The running game for LSU I thought was exceptional. They just stayed on schedule all night long. Josh Williams ran really physically and really hard. He kind of set the tone for what the night was going to be. On that first drive, he had the 16-yard catch and run where he broke 2 tackles in the right flat, and the next snap, he goes for the 20-yard touchdown run. He had 90 yards on 14 carries, and I thought was really good. He forced some missed tackles and got into the end zone. Caden Durham looked good as well. He didn't necessarily bust a long one, but he still averaged 4 yards a carry and rolled up 58 yards on the ground. And when LSU can run the ball like that, they're good. They have a good offense. It's when the running game gets bogged down and everything is thrust on the passing game that LSU has issues. And that never became the case against a pretty mediocre Vanderbilt defense on Saturday night. They tried to take the running game away, but they just couldn't do it. LSU continued to just hammer the ball away with the ground game, and that made everything easy in the air. Garrett Nussmeier, I thought, was comfortable the entire game. They gave him a really clean pocket to operate from. He completed 76% of his throws, 28 for 37. He threw for 332 yards and a touchdown. He did not turn the ball over, just took the 1 sack where Vanderbilt got pressure right up there in the A-gap between the 2 redshirt freshmen on the offensive line. But I thought Nussmeier was really, really good. It was interesting, and I was talking about this on the postgame show with Marlon Favorite and Brandon Taylor back on Saturday night. It's like, man, there was a time where at LSU, if I would have showed you a stat line that said a quarterback completed 76% of his throws for 332 yards and a score without an interception, we would have gone, oh my God, that's one of the great performances we've seen from an LSU quarterback. But the standard has shifted so much over the last 5 years that wasn't even really a thought. Like, I got to so many things on the postgame show before we got to Garrett Nussmeier throwing for 332 on 76% completions without an interception. The standard has just kind of changed. at LSU. But I thought he was really good. He got a lot of guys involved. Lacey and Anderson both had 6 catches. He checked the ball down very comfortably to Josh Williams and Caden Durham. They combined for 6 catches. C.J. Daniels tossed in his usual 4. Mason Taylor had 3 catches. Chris Hilton got involved. And Trey'Dez Green and Kamorian Pimpton both had a 5-yard reception. In all, 9 receivers touched the football for LSU. And again, they never got any sort of trouble with the interception bug that has bitten them so often. So that was really good from an offensive perspective. Will Campbell, for his work at left tackle, was named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week earlier today. I looked at the Pro Football Focus grade for him. He was in the top 5 on LSU's team yesterday. When I put that story up at LouisianaSports.net, he did not allow a single pressure in 39 dropbacks, which is really good work by Will Campbell. He's had a couple of PFF grades that weren't as good. Certainly the game against Florida comes to mind, but he was no, that was not Florida. It was Alabama, where the grade was not very good. But he was really good in the game against Vanderbilt, and he was recognized for that. And defensively, as far as LSU goes, they've never really let Pavia go nuts like he can. He did, get some yardage. He had the one where he snuck out of the pocket and there was nobody there, and he was able to go for 36 yards. But outside of that 36-yard run, he only had 43 yards total. So you're talking about 7 more yards after the one run. So Pavia was never able to do all the things that he wants to do, freelancing and making crazy plays. And Vanderbilt's running game was pretty mediocre. They ran for 122 yards on 24 carries. If you had told me before the game that Vanderbilt's only going to run for 122, they don't have a path to win. And that was the point I continued to make all of last week. Like, Vanderbilt really only has one punch. They run the ball, they stay ahead of the chains, they convert like crazy on third downs, and they stay in a close game and win it late. And LSU completely choked off third downs for Vanderbilt for the entire game. Vanderbilt only converted 2 of 10 third downs. They also had a 4th down that failed. So when you look at those critical downs, Vanderbilt was under 20% in converting those. And when you do that to Vanderbilt, they're not going to be able to hurt you otherwise. They're not an explosive team outside of the one big play on the first snap of the game. They didn't have any explosive plays. LSU was in position. They slowed down in the running game. They put Vanderbilt behind the sticks into some third and long distances, and Vanderbilt can't manage those. They just can't. And LSU was able to do enough to win the game. I don't know that there was like an outstanding defensive effort to point to. It wasn't like anybody had 3 sacks in the game or made a big play on an interception, a game-changing play. I thought, for the most part, it was just pretty solid work on defense. The most noteworthy defensive talking point from this game, I guess I should say, was the fact that Devon Keys played a lot of snaps in this game, and they're starting to get him to the field a little bit more. You saw Dominic McKinley play a lot in this game. This is the lowest snap count for Gio Paez since the beginning of the season. Some of those younger guys are getting to the field. It's been a little bit later than I imagined it would, and I thought that you'd see guys like Deshaun Spears and Kylan Jackson out there a little bit more as the calendar kind of went to Halloween. You haven't really seen that. But the freshman linebackers have kind of stepped forward and played a little bit. And Devon Keys had 5 tackles in this game, also was credited with a quarterback hurry. So thought that was pretty good. In total, like, LSU just needed this game. They needed a game where some things go right. They needed a game that they were comfortably in front of, and I felt like they were. I never thought they were going to lose this game. And they needed a game that they won, and they got all of that done. It was not an issue where the stadium was a big factor. Nobody really came back to their seats after halftime. It was kind of dead in there. It was weird. I noticed the Vanderbilt reporter that I had on the pregame show was tweeting about how it was odd that it was his first Saturday night in Death Valley, the first time he had ever been inside Tiger Stadium, and it was a 1-score game with 5 minutes to go, and there was like nobody left. And that was expected. That's just the way things go. We talk about it all the time. If the weather's good and LSU's good and the opponent's good and national championship expectations are still on the table, then Tiger Stadium's as tough a place as there is in college football. When you start to pick away at some of those variables, and you got a Vanderbilt team that nobody really cares about, and LSU's goals are off the table, the stadium's not going to be incredible, and it was not on Saturday night. But I thought the team played really well from start to finish. I think that's a credit to a lot of the older guys. They did not mail it in, and that's something that we talked about last week. It doesn't happen very often. It does at times, and it certainly didn't with LSU. They were able to play well enough to get a 24-17 win. So is that something you're going to write home about, a 7-point win over Vanderbilt? Probably not. Is that a game we'll talk about for years to come? No. Was it one that LSU desperately needed at this point after a month of the bleeding on the field and the recruiting? Yeah, they needed it, and they got it done on Saturday night. 24-17 was the final. So, hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.